Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So Vergil Ortiz Jr. defeats Egidijus Kavaliauskas by an 8th round TKO. This was a really good fight while it lasted, and once again, really good matchmaking by Golden Boy. This was another sufficient test in the young career of Vergil Ortiz Jr. And that's exactly what you want with a precocious talent like Vergil Ortiz Jr. That sort of fight is only going to help Vergil Ortiz develop in the future. So yeah, really good fight for Vergil Ortiz, as I expected going into it. But yeah, credit to both guys for putting on a show. First round started out relatively competitively. Both guys in the opening round took a fairly aggressive approach, although not overly aggressive. Both guys were in the high guard, popping the jab, hard jabs. And Vergil Ortiz was definitely winning the battle of the jabs, although Kavaliauskas was landing here and there with that jab. Kavaliauskas in the first round didn't really let go of so many power shots, but he caught Vergil a couple of times. Vergil was much more active with his power shots, and in my opinion, Vergil Ortiz won round 1. In the second round, however, Egidijus Kavaliauskas came out with much more purpose, much more aggression, coming behind the high guard, throwing the hard jab, and he was throwing his overhand right a lot more in the second round. And early in the second round, he was catching Vergil Ortiz with some decent overhand rights. And Vergil Ortiz made the mistake in round 2 of being too eager to exchange with Kavaliauskas, and he paid the price later on in the round. They was exchanging, they got close, and Kavaliauskas landed a real nice right uppercut up close, which really jacked the jaw of Vergil Ortiz Jr., and he felt that shot. Vergil Ortiz Jr. was hurt in the second round, and Vergil Ortiz Jr. was trying to fight fire with fire. He was exchanging, taking a lot of risks, but he was landing his own good shots. And towards the end of the second round, he actually somewhat buzzed Egidijus Kavaliauskas, but the second round for me was a clear Kavaliauskas round. But Vergil Ortiz got through it. To Vergil Ortiz Jr.'s credit, in the third round, he was boxing behind a beautiful jab, and he was boxing in, I would say, a boxer-puncher type of style. He was keeping Kavaliauskas at arm's length, and he was keeping him behind long, straight punches, including the straight right hand, and he was doing a really good job of it in the third round, a really good recovery round from Vergil Ortiz, and he showed good discipline not to try and get his get back. He was boxing sensibly after getting hurt in the second round. So round 3, Vergil Ortiz comprehensively outboxed Kavaliauskas. Again, Kavaliauskas landed the odd shot, but Vergil Ortiz was much more effective. Same thing in the fourth round. Vergil boxing behind a real hard jab, sometimes doubling the jab up, coming through the middle with a straight right hand. Occasionally he would finish with a left hook to the body, and as these rounds went on, Vergil Ortiz was starting to dig to the body a little bit more as this fight went on. Round 5 was more of the same. He was dictating where this fight was being fought and the distance it was being fought at, and you know, again, he was keeping Kavaliauskas effectively at arm's length. Kavaliauskas was still having success in these rounds with single shots and sometimes good single power jabs. But you know, the work of Vergil Ortiz was just far more effective as far as I'm concerned. But round 6 was actually quite a good round for Egidijus Kavaliauskas. He started round 6 by landing a really good overhand right bang on the chin of Vergil Ortiz, and Vergil Ortiz definitely felt that shot without necessarily being super hurt, but it made him super cautious for the rest of the rounds. And in round 6, I actually felt for the first time and only time in this fight, Kavaliauskas actually won the battle of the jabs in the 6th round. Kavaliauskas was much more effective with the jab in the 6th round, and he was trying to walk Ortiz down, and to me he was much more effective in the 6th round against Ortiz. So I gave Kavaliauskas the 6th round. Ortiz bounced back well though in the 7th, playing the boxer-puncher role again, landing some real good body shots. There was a couple of good exchanges in the 7th round, competitive round, but at this point in time, similar to the Terence Crawford fight, I think you could tell that Kavaliauskas was starting to wilt was starting to get tired. I think he was starting to feel those left hooks to the body. Oh, and by the way, I don't think I mentioned, Ortiz actually dropped Kavaliauskas in the third round. I don't think I mentioned that previously. But yeah, the 7th round, Ortiz regained control. For the most part, he was caught a few times, but he was being more effective. And round 8 was where this fight ended. First knockdown, Ortiz basically landed a barrage of punches to the head, which culminated in a shotgun jab to the body. And the jab to the body actually dropped Kavaliauskas. And funnily enough, in the third round, when Kavaliauskas went down, it was also a jab to the head. So Vergil Ortiz knocked down Kavaliauskas twice with a jab in this fight. But nevertheless, Ortiz drops Kavaliauskas with a jab to the body. Kavaliauskas does beat the count and he manages to fight on. But at this point in time, the writing is on the wall. Kavaliauskas is spent and Vergil Ortiz is stalking him. While Ortiz is trying to finish Kavaliauskas, what I like is he's not smothering his work. He's still maintaining distance and showing great variety in his work. So yeah, he's stalking Kavaliauskas, landing shots to body and head. He manages to push Kavaliauskas against the ropes and lands a left hook to the head, which once again drops Kavaliauskas. Kavaliauskas again, though, showing defiance, he does beat the count, and he continues to fight. Vergil Ortiz, though, jumps right back on him, maintains range, throws a left-right-left combination, culminating in a left uppercut. Once again, Kavaliauskas hits the canvas. This time, it was only really like a flash knockdown. His knee hit the canvas and he got back up, but he was still buzzed. And the referee allows it to continue. Kavaliauskas fights on, but once again, Vergil Ortiz jumps right back on him. Ortiz lands a combination, which ended with a left hand. It drops Kavaliauskas, and this time, after the 5th knockdown of this fight, the referee waves it off and stops the fight, and rightly so. So the result was Vergil Ortiz by an 8th round stoppage, 1 round earlier than Terence Crawford, which I guess is good on paper, and all in all, a pretty good performance by Vergil Ortiz. Had a couple of moments here and there, mainly the 2nd round where he did get hurt, but I think it's safe to say that Vergil Ortiz in this fight adjusted very well. After getting hurt in the 2nd, he decided to utilise that jab of his, which is a great shot. He's got a really good jab, and he decided to be the boxer puncher / counter puncher more so than the fighter. So he adjusted his style after he got hurt, and after he did that, I felt he was in control in this fight. To be honest, I felt Kavaliauskas won 2 rounds, and I felt this fight was quite easy to score. Kavaliauskas won the 2nd round, and in my opinion, the 6th round. But apart from that, you know, honestly, I felt Vergil Ortiz Jr. was in control. He had a bad 2nd round, but really that was it to me. So, all in all, I think this was an impressive performance by Vergil Ortiz, and ultimately, it was the sort of fight in which I was expecting. I felt Ortiz would get a late stoppage in and around the same time as Crawford, and I felt that, you know, potentially Kavaliauskas could buzz Ortiz in this fight, and that's exactly what happened. So it's basically the fight I expected, but I certainly enjoyed it, and, you know, to me, Vergil Ortiz Jr. is becoming one of my favourite fighters in the sport of boxing. I love his offensive style. He's got a wonderful jab. He can box, he can counter, he can fight. He's a proper fighter, Vergil Ortiz. He's a proper fighter. None of this social media bullshit, you know, over-the-top marketing. Vergil Ortiz is what he is. He's a real fighter. The way he's been matched has been very good. Step-ups along the way. You know, last 2 fights, Maurice Hooker, now Kavaliauskas. He's going in the right direction, and he's still very young. What is he, 22, 23 years old? He's heading in the right direction, but now he's a contender. So to be honest, I'd like to see Vergil Ortiz fight one of the elite welterweights, including any of the champions. I think he's ready now, to be honest. I know those fights are not going to be easy to make, because most of those guys are on PBC, but it is what it is. We shall see what happens in the future of Vergil Ortiz. And also, credit to Mean Machine for putting on a good fight. He had success. Gave it a go, as we say in the UK, but ultimately it wasn't enough. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy Delboy. Peace.